Welcome back to another episode of the Gruesome Garage and this beautiful weather in Seattle, New Jersey. Off to our next project, our trailer. We acquired this last year or 2 years ago about, and it was nothing wrong with it. It worked great for our purposes. It came with this piece of aluminum on the top of it. It's just a piece of diamond plate aluminum, a little flimsy. And next to it on the two sides, going all the way down, we had these two ramps. They worked out great, honestly. Everything worked great, except for one time when we were going out to Pennsylvania. One of these beautiful axles decided to snap right by the U-bolt. So the only thing we've really done to this trailer was put axles on. This year though, we really noticed that it needed some help. So we decided that it was time to strip it down. And let me tell you, it was time to strip it down. The whole electrical system we found out was hooked up with electrical conduit off of the side of a house. Whatever they pieced together. It had a towaway or a trailer breakaway system on it. Didn't work. Only 3 out of the 4 brakes worked. You name it. Down the line, it was just a joke. Half the lights. So we completely stripped the electrical system, and we're gonna completely redo that. And there's just a couple of things other than that we need to go through.
My biggest pet peeve with this trailer is this tongue on it. It's only for 1 7/8" ball, and that drives me out of my mind. I like to have everything the same, 2 5/16", and I'm just sick of it. It's a little tweaked. I'm not a huge fan of how locks and latches. Yeah, it's cut off. So, garbage. And when I took that off, looks pretty obvious that this is not the first time this trailer's been cut and stitched back together, whatever you want to call it. So, we're gonna put this beautiful new tongue on. Gonna have to cut this beam back a bit. I'm gonna put a piece of 2x6 in here just because.
Why not?
I want to. And this beam's a little, it's not bad, but she's getting a little thin up on the channel down here. So I'm gonna sister it up with another 2x6 and hopefully stiffen her up a little bit. So, another problem. Previous owner had these two, he welded these massive blocks in here, threaded the whole thing on both sides, which is, it's nice and beefy, but the problem is steel, rusts. So, I'm going to take these two off immediately, busting them both. Garbage. What we're going to do is, with that piece of sister 2x6, we are going to weld on some nice bumper clevis mounts, whatever you want to call them, from our best friends over at Rough Stuff, best company in the world. And we're just going to put shackles on the front here because I don't like listening to that D-ring bang around all day long. So I'd rather have 2 little clevis mounts, nice and low, for a nice 7/8 shackle. So we'll get that going. And pretty much,
There's not really that much rot, you know, only really over here. There's some rust spots from where the fenders were, I guess just all the moisture stayed underneath. But other than that, you know, there's really no problems.
so another thing that happened to us when we were on our first adventure with the trailer, same trip that the axle broke, was we're driving down the highway. We had a Jeep on the back, and all of a sudden I look in the mirror and I just see smoke coming out from the fenders. I'm like, the wheels are turning, you know, nothing's locked up. The fenders actually all rotted off the mounts and fell onto the tires, which, you know, was just cooking the tire on the fender. So we ripped those off that trip, and also our Jeeps are a little wider than most, so they kind of have to go on the tire a little to get on the trailer. So we got brand new fenders. We just have to make some mounts so they can come off when we put our Jeeps on so we don't destroy them every time. And it'll look nice with the new fenders. So pretty much just cleaning up the trailer, a lot of sanding, a lot of grinding, a little bit of welding, and give her a new coat of paint and she'll be ready to roll. when we cut the tongue off of the trailer, we decided that it needed a little more rigidity. So we cut up this nice little piece of 2x6, and hard to do with one hand here. We're just going to weld this guy right in here, stiffen up the tongue a little bit, and it also gives us something a little better to weld the tongue onto, and just makes me happier about it. Let's get to welding. So we got our little piece welded in, our little box here, and now she's ready for the tongue. Like a glove. Just got to get something to clamp this guy down with. We're gonna crank her on. But first, something I like to do in scenarios like this is you're welding that piece on, and you're not gonna be able to paint all this nasty stuff inside as well as you should be. So we're gonna give it a little blast of some weld through primer. In my opinion, it doesn't really do much, it all burns off, but makes me feel better. All right, so we got it painted on the inside. We got the tongue prepped nicely, and we're ready to blaze this thing on. All right, boys and girls, we got the tongue welded on. She's glazed on there. When we took the deck off the trailer, we discovered, and now we painted over it so you can't really see it, but this was a little crusty in here. Not terrible, but you can see some of this is starting to chip away, flake out a bit. So, just for good measure, we're gonna sister that bad boy up. This old Beamer here, put one on this side, one on the other side, and stiffen it up a little bit. Is it necessary? I don't think so, but we're gonna do it just so I can feel nice and warm and fuzzy inside.
As you can see, we've been grinding away, and this is what we've done so far. It's close, but it's not there yet. We still have a lot more to clean up. Thankfully, we got the tongue done, all thanks to my brother Matt for the great welding job. We also got one of the tie-ins complete because if you saw before, it's a little crusty. We got one of them done. That's where our D-ring mount is going for our tie down, since we have no more tie down. And tune in next time and you'll be able to see us wire this trailer up and figure out how to mount fenders on, because our idea is to be able to drive the Jeep up, but the fenders are in the way. So we have to figure out a way to remove the fenders and put them back on, because it's not legal to drive a trailer without fenders. So tune in next time, boys and girls.